Cation, Laurie Kilmartin. Jackie Cation, Laurie Kilmartin. It's the Jackie and Laurie Show. The Jackie and Laurie Show. It's the Jackie and Laurie Show. The Jackie and Laurie Show.
Go. Talk, Jackie, talk.
Talk, Jackie, talk. Here I am. We did it, you guys. We did a stand-up comedy show. The three of us.
Woo.
And Wendy Liebman.
Yeah.
And I forgot to post it on the Patreon. One person called me on it, and I have thought about buying one of those Catholic things where you beat yourself with a whip. Because I felt bad about it. I
like how you're pretending that Andy doesn't have one of those and uses it on you every single night in your sex den of a quarantine.
Yes. When I think about a sexy sex den of a quarantine, I don't know about you. I don't feel particularly sexual right now. I'm so sorry. I mean, I'm willing to go through the motions if someone were to initiate contact, but I'm just telling you.
Am I showing up on this video at all? Am I? Okay. It's not on my,
You have some sort of, you're like, you ever see that movie Ants or whatever, the one where everybody's tiny?
Yes. Yeah.
That's what you look like.
Should I turn my lights on?
Yeah, there you go. How about a little bit of that? I did the video, since we're posting this on the Patreon, which, by the way, there are no tiers. It's $1 a month. If you still have a job, fucking Patreon it up. We're paying Kyle.
Also,
anyway.
Yes, exactly. We just cut him a huge check for the next 3 months.
That's good.
We're going to do a stand-up show for Patreons only.
Because of my fail.
On Friday night. This Friday night.
Yeah, this Friday.
We'll figure out exactly what the time is and stuff like that. But
you can do 30 minutes and yell into the internet for 30 minutes. By the way, that worked out really well with Andy and Kyle doing the door.
Yeah.
And
let's explain how that worked.
Okay. The way I set up the meeting was that you had to register and that there was a waiting room. And so once
with Zoom. With Zoom.
Yeah. And then people would go into the waiting room, and if it was all just your phone number, you were let in last and kind of flagged. And Andy had like a piece of paper and a pen to write down if somebody was a dirtbag, because what you really want to do is you want to let the comics in first, even though there was a problem because the way the participants list shows up on the Zoom participants is in the order that they showed up for the meeting. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't let the meeting, like there's a box you can tick that says let people show up before the host. I wouldn't actually do that because he had to keep searching for you and Wendy and Kyle because they got bumped down on the participant list. So if the first 3 or 4 people in are the comics, they'll always be at the top of the participant list. And then when it's time for them to do a stand-up set, you spotlight them instead of pinning them.
Oh, great.
And then, which is a word that is in those 3 dots, the 3 more dots, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I thought what was cool is there was a chat on the side that everyone that was there was sort of participating in, or a lot of people were.
Yeah. If you want to riff, go to the chat. And everyone could be muted. And in the end, because we tried to do unmute everybody, but in the end, Andy and Kyle ended up unmuting like 15 or 20 people that they knew the names of, that they knew that they would sit and watch the show, and that they didn't have background bullshit going on.
Right.
Which was enough to be a laugh for us, I think, and then enough for a laugh for the people who were just laughing along. Kind of like a laugh track, but more live and real.
Yeah, we just needed a couple good laughers, so it felt like stand-up. And then, so we don't have that dead look in our eyes after you tell a joke to silence. So that was cool. And we kind of learned a little bit during Wendy's set, which sucked. But I think
because her audio was bad.
Yeah. And somebody unbelievably was on speakerphone with somebody else during the show. Like, what the fuck? So but you know what? It's this way. Everyone's muted, and then we pick a few people that we know are not going to be distracted and will participate. And it felt like a show. I felt so happy afterwards, and I had so much fun.
That's it.
I had the lowest expectations, but we did have real audience members there. It wasn't comics waiting for their turn. We had people that wanted a stand-up show, which is important. I think, I don't know, I'm a little still apprehensive of doing like an open mic or whatever, where it's just a bunch, me and 10 comics with notes. You know, it's painful to perform and painful to sit and watch if you don't feel like it, but you sort of need to, because that's the only audience. Right.
It's what, and this is a temporary fix, you know. I mean, Carmen Morales has the methadone analogy.
Yeah.
This is a methadone, you know. This is the fix we need for now, and it's not like we're not writing. I mean, everyone who's, you know, we're writing the bullshit that's going on around us.
Right.
Jokes are going to happen whether you write topical or you don't write topical. You know, you're always going to, if you're a comic, you're always writing, in my opinion.
To me, though, it's also, I write more when I have a show. So normally my entire comedy life, I've had a show that night or the next night. So writing wasn't a thing I thought about. It just was like, oh, I got a show. Let me take up a notebook. Right.
Yeah.
And so I haven't written that much stand-up, but when we had a show that night, I sat down and came up with a new idea and stuff. So that was cool. The weird thing, sorry, that's me, is I've been noticing, or, you know, for both you and I, this is like a habit that's like 33 or 34 years old of performing almost every single night. And it's really jarring for the first time to be out of that habit and not be able to jump back in at any time, you know?
Right. And if we want to jump back in, because I you know, since the show, I think I did our show, which was last Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was today's Saturday. So I did one last night. That was just, it wasn't Twitch. It wasn't Facebook. It wasn't Instagram. It wasn't YouTube Live. It was something else. It was called Steam something, but it wasn't Steam. It was Steam Park, or it wasn't the video game.
Was it QB? Do you have a QB show and you don't even know it?
Maybe. And, but it was with Phil Johnson up the Bay Area guy. You know him? Guitar guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had a couple other comics, a guy named Eric Escobar that I worked with at Roosters, and a woman named Nina G, who, I don't know, I think she's from the Bay Area, but she has a stutter, and her set was great. It was great. She had an incredible dick joke about stuttering that wasn't about stuttering, and it was a dick joke, but it wasn't about sex. It was about stuttering.
Okay,
it was both. It was a great bit.
Cool.
But those are the only 2 sets I've done. So since then, which was today, I've been thinking, well, maybe I could throw a show up right now. And people would come, and there's part of me that thinks if I throw it up quick, it'll be less likely to be trolled.
Right. That's a good idea.
Bamford had a problem with trolling. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did. That's awful.
And it was the bad kind. It was the kind where I've been in a couple of sort of meetings where they're just pornographic images and a lot of the N-word and a lot of BS. So it's just 14-year-olds. Yeah.
It's somebody like you see a person, like you see me right now, and they're just shouting the N-word, or they're posting porn in their little video box.
Right. Like if you don't turn off the share screen option, anybody can just share their screen, and it'll have porn on it, or it'll have horrible racist stuff on it. Like, somebody told me that they were putting up like pictures of hangings. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah. Like they literally have thought it through as to how to be the biggest shitbag in the world, which, you know, you got to admire some heckling.
God.
Jesus Christ. It's just not cool.
Right.
I mean, and when somebody's just trying to, you know, talk everybody off a ledge, you know, we're all trying to help.
It is awful, but it's also like reassuring that douchebags are always going to be douchebags, and that never goes away. Like,
no,
the coronavirus can't kill an asshole.
No, not even
So-
specifically. Sadly.
So in terms of humanity, it's sort of, even though it sucks when it happens to you, when it sucks when, I don't want my kids seeing porn during a class. They're deliberately targeting kids' classes and stuff.
Yeah.
But hey, those people always exist. And
yeah, this is my new setup, by the way. This is, I've realized that because I was using that, I had an icicle thing with a mic, and I'm still going to use that for stand-up because it's not being recorded, but I've been recording the Dork Forest. I'm using Zoom, and I don't know that I'll use Zencaster, even though a very nice woman pitched enough money to me to buy a year of it. So I did buy a year of it. But then I have my Zoom, which is what you have one, Laurie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And Kyle has one. You can use it as an interface for a mic, and you get better quality sound. Like for the next episode, you have a mic and an XLR cable, and you should have a cable for the Zoom to go into the computer. Yeah, you have a regular mic.
I do have that.
So if you put just a regular stand-up mic into your Zoom, and then take that cable from that you would plug into the wall or into the computer and put it into your laptop, and then on the scrolly thing, it'll say use it as an interface. It'll pop up, and you'll say yes, and then it'll be better quality.
I tuned out about 5 sentences ago.
Kyle and I will talk you through it next time.
I'm totally fine with the setup I have. I don't want to complicate it. I bought a Zoom because as the physical product, because we needed one. It has too many ins and outs, and I'm like, oh, it's too much shit to plug in. And whenever we need it, I hand it to you. As a sacrifice, and you take care of it.
People like these the Zoom videos that we're doing.
Well, you know what? Enjoy this face if that's what makes you happy.
A lot of people said this is not what they thought Kyle would look like.
I get that a lot.
Do you? You're a giant man.
Uh-huh.
Well, here's the thing. They could have Googled Kyle up before now. I mean, that's pretty lazy to go, I wonder what he looks like for 4 straight years, and go, I'll look it up another time.
Yeah, that is completely on them. You are correct. And so you want to do a Patreon show on Friday, right?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah, you can do the long set. That'd
okay, I'll figure it out and we'll send the emails out. My mom suggested that I use this time to write a book.
Did she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you thought about telling her to use her retirement time to write a fucking book?
I would like to beat her with the book, but I don't feel like writing one. I don't have any ideas.
It's so sad that they discontinued the white pages. Anyway, go ahead. That's what my dead mother used to occasionally hit me with a phone book.
Really?
Yeah. She pointed. Yeah. It has a nice heft to it, and you really want to get the attention of a 5-year-old. You're going to want to just pick up anything that's at hand and just go bam.
5 years old.
Yeah. Well, she died when I was 7.
Is that the Armenian? Did she die hitting you?
She's Irish.
Oh.
Okay. That's an Irish goodbye. Bam. Anyway.
It is. That's a very Irish of that generation of woman.
Right. Of troubled youth. Mm-hmm. She was very young. Poor thing. I'm sympathetic, but not supportive, as you can imagine.
Right.
So you don't know what you want to write a book about?
Nope. Nope.
I was thinking about my romance novel again.
Yeah.
What about this? Elon Musk walks into a coffee shop.
That fucking piece of shit. I stand by my original
everything
hatred
you've
of
ever
him.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see what he did to Morgan Murphy today?
He stole a joke that she wrote with pictures, that is a before and after of her dog, and he stole the joke.
He cut it so that her name wasn't on it.
Yeah, he made it seem like those are his dogs, and he thought of that joke. He's a horrible person, and this idea that he's a he's not. Smart people don't do that. Smart people don't. Criminals do that.
He might be an evil supervillain. Because the thing is you can be a terrible person and very smart.
Right. But I mean, he even stole Nikolai Tesla's name. That's not even like, fucking come up with your own name, asshole.
Which is such a slap in the face of Tesla because Edison had already stolen all of his work.
Oh my God.
That isn't actually accurate. And feel free not to email me with the real story.
You know so much. Why don't you appear on Dork Forest and tell Jackie all about it?
Oh my God, people are appearing. They're appearing. I did one with Darla. It's coming out. It's coming out tomorrow, Tuesday.
What was your topic?
Darla has been prepared for the Great Depression all of her life. So It is depression cooking. It is recipes to cook while you're in quarantine.
So she's one of those people that this is her time to really shine during the quarantine, during a national pandemic.
Right. She's got potential. She always has.
Does she have I remember once when I was on the road, I was like doing one of my things where I was driving to Chicago and back, and I stopped in Topeka Topeka, Kansas, because it was sort of, I think it was right on the way ish, close to 80. And I met with Miss Alice Hart. Her name was Alice Hart, and she was friends with my grandmother. My dad was raised in Topeka, and she was still alive, obviously, and her husband was still alive. And he had been a POW in World War II.
Wow.
And it was a very nice visit until they took me into the basement, and the basement was filled with cans of food. And then it was like, that's some POW shit, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some, I'm afraid the big one's we're gonna survivalist kind of.
Yeah. Some long lasting, effects of that where you don't see it when you're having a conversation with a person, and then there's evidence that it's still in their brains,
Yeah.
That's but I always was impressed by that level of prepared. He was ready for the Nazis to come back, and they were
right, or anyone. Yeah, man.
I went shopping today. I got some masks on. It's weird, like all of a sudden a ton of mask makers appeared on Amazon, and then 2 days later they were all sold out again. But
sure.
I got some masks and bought a bunch of food. I'm trying to like have 3 weeks constantly, so that if I get sick, then
nobody has to go anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Laurie Kilmartin, you're like, I too am planning for when the Nazis come back. And, heads up, by the way, they're back. I'm so sorry.
Aki, they are here.
Mm-hmm. What?
There was a 6-hour comedy show last night called Laugh Aid. Did you hear about that?
And I should have, because the Dork Forest is on All Things Comedy.
Well, was that an All Things Comedy production?
The John Cleese one? Or the other one?
I don't know. It was Patton.
It was one that Wendy Liebman posted about.
Patton was on it, and Jessica Kirson, and
oh no, this must have been a different one. This one I think was Jody. I think it was Jody Liebman who put it together. There was another one that All Things Comedy did with John Cleese.
Okay, well, either way, you and I are comedians, and the one I saw or I read about was like 6 hours long. There was plenty of room for you and me. I don't think either of us is contacted.
No,
do people know
the All Things Comedy one? Well, the All Things Comedy one, I literally tweeted at them, and then I deleted it because I was like, fuck those guys, man. I mean, if they don't want to book me, they don't want to book me. It's not Bert Kreischer's fault that, Bill Burr loves him like a brother. It isn't Bill Burr's fault that Al Madrigal loves him like a brother. It's a big boys club at All Things Comedy. And so they have a couple of sort of the younger crew.
Yeah.
Women.
Oh, it's always the younger crew.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Which, they're okay comics. I mean, we're better comics if you were looking for stand-up comedy. But if you were looking for attractive young women who do stand-up comedy and do it pretty well, but not as well, I see why they would have just taking
what
a hole big enough. What am I doing?
What a dance that was, Jackie. And I
It was
think you successfully navigated the Straits of Magellan. I don't know, some place where ship captains frequently crash. I think you got through that okay. I know what you're saying.
Interesting.
We
Let me write that down.
You don't want to slam your fellow comics, at least on video,
Right?
but you can't help but notice a pattern of people in the industry ignoring. I told my manager, I'm like, hey, I have multi-camera angles of my sets at the Punchline where I taped my CD that I still haven't sent off to anyone yet. But I mean, it could be cut into a special. Netflix, it had an audience. You guys, Netflix or anyone, if you want content with an audience, you're going to have to get something that's a couple months old, but it's here. And I was told probably absolutely not. Without
them even going to Netflix at all or anybody?
Yeah.
Interesting. Comedy Dynamics might do it for if you paid them.
Jackie, thank you. That is a great opportunity.
You know what they call it? They call it exposure. That's what you're getting paid in.
Maybe after I release my album, maybe a couple of months later, I could just put it up on YouTube with people.
Oh, like I did with Horcrux?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think I put it, because I put my Horcrux DVD on YouTube with a private link, because I genuinely, there was part of me that thought that this was going to be over in a couple of weeks and I was going to take it down.
Right.
But I think this is going to be several months, obviously. And we haven't even peaked in all these things. But the
Jackie, I would mentally say 18 months minimum.
Well,
prep for that.
Well, the weird thing about like both of those benefits last night, you had to make under a certain amount of money, and thank you, Maria Bamford. I've made over that amount of money. I am not eligible, and I bless the fact, and I am, and the other thing is I have a little bit of a buffer. I don't want to take it from comics who need it. Right. And so plus people who have been listening to the Dork Forest, I got 2 really big donations this week from people who've been listening to the Dork Forest for over 10 years.
Wow.
And they're like, hey, I've never donated. Here's a pile of money because now's a good time, don't you think? And I'm like, yes, now's a perfect time. Thank you very much.
That's great.
Yeah.
I did not try to get any comic or artist money. I know SAG is giving people money too. I did apply for that small business loan because I'm incorporated. And
the one at First Entertainment?
No, the one, part of the congressional part of the first stimulus or relief package is, it might be called PPP. I forget. But I will try to get some kind of loan just in case. I don't know what's going to happen. We're still currently working and doing shows, but I mean, 18 months of this, I don't know what
that looks like. Nobody knows what that looks like.
I'd rather have a loan a very low interest loan that I pay back later. If I don't need it, then it was okay. But I don't.
First Entertainment Credit Union has a $5,000 loan that they're I think it's at 0%.
Wow.
Yeah, for if you have an account there, and Andy's had an account there forever. But I'm hoping. I don't know what I'm hoping. Here's
Jackie, are you incorporated?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. From what I understand about this loan is the first $10,000 are potentially forgiven, which means you don't have to pay back. If most of the money is used for the employees on your payroll, who are you?
Right.
So it's something to look into. You can go the bank you bank at and just apply through that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's backed federally, so any bank can give you
I see.
that loan. But I mean, if you have a relationship however anyone does with a bank.
Yeah, my corporate account is at a real bank, or it's one of those weird boutique banks. It's called First Republic.
Oh,
and,
do they have a green sort of logo?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
I've seen them. So they're
possibly an eagle. I can't remember because we know how good eagles are with money.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Well, if it's no interest or zero or very low interest, this would be the time to apply for it. Just because you might, in a year from now, it might take a while, but a year from now, maybe you aren't as good of a risk as you are now, and then it would be hard for you to get a loan. And this way, at least you would have a pile of money that if you had to pay it back, you might be able to, and you could be forgiven for the first $10,000.
Interesting.
All you have to do is look into it. Talk to your bank.
Okay,
that's my
I'll
advice.
write down.
For anyone who's incorporated, you are your payroll, so it's a loan to yourself, and the first 10,000 might be sort of free, I guess.
Yeah, which I don't know. Been paying taxes for the last 30 years. I don't know how free. It seems like a good use of my tax money. And
yes, finally.
Yeah, what the heck? Finally, exactly. It's not that I don't love drones.
I'm buying and getting meals from restaurants like at least three nights a week, which I've never been like that. I'm just trying to spend money locally,
right.
businesses near me.
Okay.
While I can.
Yeah. And what are you doing the nights you're not a big cooker? What are you doing?
No.
Frozen pizzas? What's happening?
Yeah, sure. And, leftovers from the night before.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So 3 nights. So yeah, because if you do, we went to the Chinese restaurant last Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I talked to you about this, where someone stood too close to me. Wait, you had the thing where the guy was standing next at the Japanese restaurant.
Yes. Yeah.
Where you told him he was going to kill somebody.
Yeah. And he's a piece of shit. Yeah. I'm still empowered from that moment, Jackie. So tell me about yours.
I didn't say anything. I just backed up into a wall. It wasn't my finest moment. But we ordered, I went to the Chinese restaurant because I assumed that jackasses weren't ordering at the Chinese restaurant. But it turns out they told me that I could get a duck and a bunch of this other food. And I get up there and I'm like, okay, so we got food. We're still eating off of it a week later. We just, the vegetables.
You bought a duck? You ate a duck?
Chinese duck is the greatest food on the planet. Chinese duck.
I've never had it.
So good.
One day when we're allowed to go out to a restaurant, you'll look at it and go, I don't know. And then you'll watch me eat it and enjoy it. Anyway, but they were out of, and Kyle will come. And, but I do think that, they were sold out of duck by the time I got to the front. I said, no, I ordered it over the phone. And she said, yeah, 3 people came in before you and bought all the duck.
Oh, they didn't set any aside after you paid for it? Or you hadn't paid yet?
No, I hadn't paid for it. Because they only take sweaty cash, which is another way I'm over tipping. Because guess what I don't want? The change. And so.
You want to do a break?
Oh, yeah, let's do a break, you guys.
Welcome back to Fireside Chat on KMAX. With me in studio to take your calls is the dopest duo on the West Coast, Oliver Wong and Morgan Rhodes. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, I'm looking for a music podcast that's insightful and thoughtful, but also helps me discover artists and albums that I've never heard of.
Yeah, man. Sounds like you need to listen to Heat Rocks. Every week, myself, and I'm Morgan Rhodes, and my co-host here, Oliver Wong, talk to influential guests about a canonical album that has changed their lives.
Guests like Moby, Open Mike Eagle, talk about albums by Prince, Joni Mitchell, and so much more.
Yo, what's that show called again?
Heat Rocks, deep dives into hot records.
Every Thursday on Maximum Fun.
And we're back.
Mm-hmm.
What are we close enough to do Comic of the Week?
Yeah, let's do that.
How much time have we done?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I think we're at 29, aren't we?
Yeah, something like that. Almost halfway.
Oh, okay. All right. So our comic of the week is Steph Tolev.
Tolev.
Steph like Curry, Steph. Tolev, Tolev. And
is she Canadian? Is that what you said?
This is another this, Jackie, you know, my theory is what happens with the female comics from Canada. They're like athletes that are training in high altitudes, right? Like they do these fucking one-nighters in front of fur trappers and gold miners all over Saskatchewan or whatever, and they become monster comics, like beasts on stage, and then they enter the United States, and we're like, where the fuck did you come from?
and Steph Tolev was born.
She's one of those. Man, she's really funny. She's really, really strong. And
she's a monster on stage. I watched 3 of her videos.
Yeah.
And her stage presence is that one-nighter energy. It's that, no, you bastards, allow me to wrestle you to the ground and tell you a joke right in your face.
Yeah.
And then I'll let you up to laugh.
My favorite. It's my favorite energy. It's my favorite. Don't even fucking try heckling me. I'll destroy you. And the audience senses it immediately and they cower in fear. I love that. And I love other kinds of comedy too, but I just love somebody who you're like, you could throw a bowling ball at this person and they would catch it and still keep doing their act.
That's because you're nostalgic for your 90s.
I
that's
am.
Because that's what you were. It was because that's that one-nighter energy. I remember that one-nighter. I remember I'd come off of I would do these 6-week runs.
Yeah.
And I would come off a 6-week run and I would be the biggest ball buster, cursing. I was just like, what? Fuck you. And it was like, literally, I was a genuine Guido from an old-timey movie.
Sure. And then, I would do those too, like those triple runs for 3 or 4 weeks at a time. Yeah. And then you come home and you're doing a coffee shop in San Francisco and the crowd's like, oh my God, right. Jesus Christ, lady, tone it down.
Right. Stop hitting guy. There's no reason for the hitting. And then, but it would be kind of nice to do a 6-week run like that to come and then, because I couldn't ever write. The stuff I wrote when I was on those runs was always not keepers. They were okay.
Yes.
They were always okay premises.
Right.
And if I could turn them into something real, I needed enough time at home or in an A club where I could noodle around with them.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The crowds aren't great listeners. So they miss a lot of subtle things.
Yeah, when you're standing on a disco floor and all the
and the only lights are the disco lights. There's not even a spotlight.
Right, and for some reason all the speakers face you instead of the audience. Have you ever been to one of those? It's brutal.
Yes. There was some place, it was in Wyoming. It was off a major highway in Wyoming. Because I remember pulling off and going, oh my God, it's right here. It was almost at a truck stop. And it was 5 people in the audience. And it was that exact scenario of they clearly had never put a comedy show together before. Tribble had talked him into it, over the phone, and it was horrendous. But I'll never forget it.
Yeah, some of them were genuinely horrendous. I remember that crazy Minot gig. You ever walk into one of those rooms? It's like, it's clearly just like a full wall of Best Western.
North Dakota, Minot?
Okay. Yeah. And so it was open floor. The bar was in the middle of the room, splitting the audience in half.
Ugh.
Always a terrible idea.
Awful.
But it was packed because it was Minot, I believe, in either November or February.
Right.
So there was nothing else to do. And it was packed to the gills, probably 230, 260 people. And I remember thinking, this is going to be so great. And then I got up and it was literally a wrestling match with come on. It was like you're a conductor and you're trying to all right, less trombone. Jesus Christ. I'm going to need to hear from the violas.
Yes.
And so.
I did a show in Spearfish, South Dakota, which is some big Harley Davidson sort of.
Yeah, that's where that thing
probably
is.
Worse things. Probably other disturbing things. But I don't remember the show, but I remember the pool. It was, I had the lowest of expectations. I went to some it was like a new aquatic center, but every time I was promised a pool in one of these smaller towns, it was just disaster. And I remember walking in, it was like 25 meters and it was pristine. The water was like swimming through liquid crystal. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, that and the other was shocked was in Elko, Nevada. Did you ever work Elko?
No, Rontowski did it for like 6 months. Do you remember that gig she did there?
Wait, she had a gig there for 6 months?
In a row.
No.
She lived there.
What?
With like dancers and stuff where she had to host and do stand-up. You got to talk to her about it. It's
oh,
a
my
trip.
God. I want to do that gig one day. I do.
Oh.
I feel like maybe I already reached the mountain as a comic and now I'm sliding down. But that's okay. I still want to hit the gigs as I slide down to my death.
No, those are good gigs on the way down. Yeah, for sure. But was there a pool there?
Oh yeah. And there was so little else there that I couldn't believe they had a great city pool. I was shocked.
Right.
The Elko's where they do like the cowboy poetry competition or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those little mid-sized Nevada towns that has a little gambling here and there.
Yeah, a little bit of everything going on.
Yeah.
I have this to say. We should have a recurring segment called Laurie Kilmartin Remembering Pools. Fucking blows, man. I'm so sorry. Have you thought about trying to create any sort of a tiny meter thing in your weird kidney-shaped pool?
It's not a kidney. It's a rectangle, but
it is a rectangle.
Yeah, it's fucking freezing, and
it's too cold right now. But as we go,
I don't know. I mean, maybe I can think of something. I got a water polo net for my kid so that he can practice, throwing. But you got to get in the pool, and it's too cold. I don't know. It's just
it's like 55 degrees right now. I mean,
probably
today's crazy cold.
Yeah.
To be in an outdoor pool, unless you're desperado. I didn't even go for my walk today.
So are you
for the first time?
Yeah. Are you mostly walking then?
Yeah. I'm. But we got the thing that said wear masks now.
Right.
And they're to stop sort of any sort of particulates coming in because people they don't have the symptoms, but they might be carriers of the virus. Mm-hmm. So it will protect it from getting into your mouth and nose, and eyes, and just orifices, right? And it's mostly our hands touching our face, and it reminds you not to touch your face.
That's more what it's for, because it will stop if you have COVID. It will stop some of that from leaving. It will stop some of it, but it won't. It's not as good as an N95 mask. But
if you have an unopened N95 mask, bring it to a hospital.
Of course, yeah, no, it's definitely a B solution, but that's all we have. But yeah,
I bought Andy 30 pairs of Me Undies one year. I don't know what they had like 1,000 different colors and styles, and I posted that thing on my Instagram because one morning he was like, I could turn this into a mask, and then he took his houndstooth pair and did it. So he's got like dozens of pairs that he's never worn because he's been, they're very well made. Small ad for Me Undies, you guys.
Yeah.
I don't know what the code would be. Probably Bill Burr. Anyway, but because I know that they advertised on him, but so he's there. I went to the post office the other day to mail off a bunch of orders because I've got shirts coming out of my ears, and so every show I do, I'm like, hey, here's a shirt. Why don't you guys buy this weird my dad quote shirt or this squish shirt? And so I've been selling shirts, which is good.
That's cool.
Yeah. And though the challenge coin hasn't been going, there's one on the floor. Anyway, but I wore a pair of his Me Undies, the ones that had the candy corns on them. And because you can turn it into kind of a burqa. It's kind of nice.
I want to get one. I want to get a balaclava, and just look like I'm in the IRA. That's what I want.
Little ski mask.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I never knew the word balaclava. I think I read about it in an old timey romance novel.
I'm maybe pronouncing it wrong.
No,
Maybe
that's
it's
it.
Balaclava. Okay.
That's
No,
for
baklava.
sure not
That's
it.
that's a
Baklava.
that's a honeyed
pastry.
dessert. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what's a comedy podcast if we don't have any shows to talk about? That's what I
like the idea of the 2-hour just impromptu. I don't know. Is there 20 people who want to come see me work on half of my 1-hour set? Because
Sure. I'm sure there is.
I think the show that I did with you guys, I did work on the dad stuff.
Yeah.
Did I do the dad stuff?
Yes.
Because that stuff is really hard to do for me sometimes because it doesn't have enough punchlines. It's more story based.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way to get more punchlines is to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's sort of draining. Like the next day my throat was killing me and I'm like, oh, I've got it. I've got the thing. And Andy was like, or you yelled into the internet for a half an hour and that's why your throat hurts. And he was correct. It's fine.
It was weird because I have comedy voice, which is the voice I use when I'm on stage. And then in the middle of a bit, it seemed like there were audio problems. And then I just was like, hey, are we okay audio-wise?
That was kind of
fascinating.
fascinating.
I got cleared up and I went back to, so anyway, guys, I went back to comedy voice in the same room on the same mic.
Yes, it did make me laugh. Yeah. Why don't we do a break? Why don't we do another break?
Yeah, let's do that.
We interrupt the podcast you're listening to tell you about another podcast. That's right, We Got This with Mark and Hal.
That's correct, Mark. This is Hal. We do the hard work for you, settling all of the meaningless arguments you have with your friends.
So tune in every week on the Maximum Fun Network for We Got This with Mark and Hal, and all your questions will be asked and answered.
You're welcome. All right, that's enough of that.
We got this.
Difference. I'm full of stories to tell. I've been doing walks. I've been doing rowing for like 15. Rowing is fucking hard.
Yeah.
Ugh. So I try to do like 5 songs, row to 5 songs, which is maybe 15 minutes total.
There you go.
And then I do some yoga. I've been doing Hot Yoga Pasadena has live Zoom, Zoom classes. And so they have one at 7:30 to 8:30 every morning, or most mornings. And then the place I go to also put some stuff up that's free on YouTube, but it's not live. The thing is when there's not a teacher that can see you on the screen, I will pause and it's I'll do an hour of tweeting and then it's really hard for me to stay focused if I don't have anyone that I'm being held accountable by.
How do you make it hot?
Oh, you don't? Oh, that's the best thing. It's cold. I love it. I don't know how I'm going to go back because a lot of these poses, because I'm sweating so much, I'm weak and my foot's slipping out of my hand. I'm slippery, and for the first time I'm able to do triangle pose, which is like this really hard one because I'm not sliding onto the floor. Like
with the sweat of it all.
Yeah. Like my feet start to slide apart and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to be impaled by floors. But now because I'm dry, I'm able to do the poses. It's pretty. I don't have much to be excited about, Jackie. So
I say own what you got. It's you gotta make it happen. I ordered a tiny. There's this little. It was $11. Talk about price gouging. It's a handheld drone. You might have seen an ad for it somewhere where you sort of throw it up in the air and it just sort of flies around. It's for kids. It's for little kids. And I ordered one for my friend Robin is married to comedian Adam Grotman. And they have a child. And it's not that Adam Grotman isn't my friend. He is a very nice man. But Robin has been a close friend of mine. And so their son turned 6 in this. I mean, who do we feel? So I got him one of those drones. It's going to be delivered today. whatever.
Fun.
But it's a super fun, cute little drone. The weird thing is, you know who I feel real sorry for right now? The 19-year-olds who this is the hottest they'll ever be, and they're trapped in quarantine, and or you just got your first boyfriend, and you're like, I cannot mac with my first boyfriend because we are in quarantine.
You have a second hotness at 35.
Look
Because
forward
then
to
you
it.
lose the baby fat and you're like a full woman or man or whatever you are. But
Yeah.
you have a second try at hotness.
Yeah,
So don't
the
worry about
hotness
it.
will remain. Don't sweat it. It'll
If
be
you're
fine.
35, then I'm sorry, you lost your opportunity. You're going to come out of this 50 and absolutely ignored by the industry and construction workers alike.
I thought you'd get a bigger laugh from Kyle from that one. Anyway.
Just felt so real.
Yeah.
I made some hand sanitizer.
Out of what?
You don't need much. You just need aloe vera gel, which you can get on Amazon, and 90 proof rubbing alcohol, which you can also get on Amazon. I don't know, Jackie, you're making the motion like you would. Are you in danger of drinking 90 proof alcohol?
I'm always in danger of drinking 90 proof alcohol. And if no one else remembers that, I should.
Well, maybe Andy can make it then. But
well, and we happen to have a lot of Andy when we were cleaning out the garage because the guy's fixing the garage out back. Just one guy with a buddy. They're 6 feet away working on, they're fixing my garden and they're working on the garage, putting up shelving and stuff. And when Andy was moving all the stuff in the garage into the middle of the garage, he found a giant bottle of sanitizer that we had when Tiberius was with us. Because Tiberius died like 2 years ago. And
did Tiberius use hand sanitizer?
No, but after you've held an iguana,
okay,
you're going to want to put some hand sanitizer on you because he walks around in his own poo.
Right.
Yeah, and he's gross. He was a dignified fellow. I'm not saying he wasn't a brave old man, but so we have plenty of hand sanitizer. We also I kind of panicked. Did I tell you about this? I went through a little bit of panic buying. Speaking of survivalism, ordered 10 pounds of lentils and 5 pounds of barley, and we got lentils, you guys. We got lentils. We got barley. And so I made lentil soup, and it's a good lentil soup, but I don't know if Andy's going to want to eat 10 pounds of lentils over the next 18 months.
Can you freeze lentil soup?
Oh, of course, but
okay.
But to what? To make more lentil soup because we got a lot of lentils, and so. You can also make like a lentil salad too. If you like a sort of with a vinegar or rice wine vinegar.
You don't have to sell me on lentils, Jackie. I'm on board.
If you have a red onion and some lentils and some rice wine vinegar, you could make a nice lentil salad.
Okay.
If you want to eat it, it gets a little. The thing about lentil salad, it gets boring a lot faster than lentil soup does. I don't know if you've ever had lentil soup.
I haven't. In fact, I haven't even heard the word lentil more than I've in my entire life than I've heard it in the last minute and a half.
I knew you hadn't had lentil soup. Why? Why haven't you? Where's the?
We're
making mashed potatoes tonight.
I opened a can of tuna today, and I mixed it with mayonnaise, and that was a lot of. Thank you.
Well, have you thought about squirting in one tiny squirt of mustard? With your mayonnaise and mustard, it adds a little tang to it.
I like it 2-step process, and you just added a third step.
It's true. I'm not here to create work for you. I'm just saying. Andy also makes. He tried to get chicken thighs the other day, and they didn't have them. But he went to Smart and Final. You would have thought they would have had a giant package of. I don't know why he went to Smart and Final, but he did.
Yeah,
and
that's That's a last choice, Smart and Final.
Well, he's trying to avoid the humanity.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you're never going to find cauliflower at Smart and Final, my love.
Right.
And but the but he makes this chicken tarragon popover, which is puff pastry with chicken thighs in it and a bunch of some herbs. And I ordered an herb kit from Amazon so I could plant some herbs, and everything came except for the seeds.
What? They forgot?
They forgot them, and I've done as much. I haven't done as much public shaming as I wanted to do, but I wrote them a note, and we destroyed the box, so I can't send it back to Amazon. But I would like them to just.
You can use another box.
Yeah, maybe I'll just do that. Maybe I'll just use another box because I think it was like $50, but it was pots and trays and soil and seeds supposedly for I think 16 different herbs.
That's cool. I mean, hardware stores are open and they have that stuff. Like the DIY center in Burbank is open that has herbs.
Well, they haven't finished the garden part of my backyard yet, the guys. Mm-hmm. And so once they finish the garden part, I'm going to go to my nursery and buy all the plants and stuff. But the way they've done the backyard, my garden is now much more intimidating because it looks like you're like, this is fucking farmland is what I have back here. I have enough plant. I could plant everything. And what they did is they consolidated 2 very long raised beds. Mm-hmm. And so even the 2 areas that I was also planting things in are not even included, but it's more planting area. And I'm like, I'm fucked. I never wanted to be a farmer.
You are going back to your Armenian roots.
Shepherds. We were shepherds and bankers, according to my father. My mother's father was a shepherd.
Wow.
And my father's father was a banker. So, or the other way around.
How did they meet? They seem like 2 communities that wouldn't have a lot to do with each other.
Well, the Turks introduced them.
In a march, they had a parade.
It turns out they met at the parade.
My God.
I'm so sorry. They actually met in Illinois, I believe. So, after the march.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but the Turks were instrumental.
Sure.
And weirdly enough, they grew up within, I think the 2 towns that they were from were literally like 8 or 10 miles from each other. Neither one had ever been to the other town because they were little villages in Turkey in the early 1900s. So, and I'm sure when they met, you're like, you're from Çomaklı? I'm from Tomarza. You're from Tomarza? It'd be like, you're from Visalia? I'm from Exeter, which is 2 towns in California.
Wow. Thank you for that dramatic reenactment of your grandparents' meeting. I felt like I was there in Schlabby or whatever the hell it is.
We had the time. So I thought, might as well. So how about you? How did your grandparents meet?
My dad's dad was kind of going from job to job. His father was the fire chief of Albany.
Oh, right.
He's like big in the fire, and there's a lot of firefighters, kind of classic Irish firefighter culture there. But my grandfather was not, and he was hitting on my grandma, and she said, "You better get a good job first," which I really appreciate that pragmatism. And
wow, we all look back on that and go, she was not wrong, it turns out.
So yeah, I mean, they made it through the Depression. Okay, they had a store in Albany called Kilmartin's, and they family lore, and I can't remember it accurately. They went all in on short skirts, and then the next season long skirts were in, and the Depression hit. Like this was 1929, and they went bankrupt, right?
Yeah,
they lost everything, and then he managed a few stores. He managed a store in West Virginia for a little while, and then he got this job at this place called Berkson's in Topeka, and he was there for 30 years, and that's where my dad was raised.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know your dad was from Topeka.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Oh, that's interesting. Where'd your mom grow up?
Chicago.
In Chicago. Okay.
Yeah.
How did they meet?
How did my maternal grandparents meet?
No. How did your parents meet?
Oh, my dad saw my mom on a train platform and started following her every morning to work. And he followed her in a drugstore, and she was like, she was sort of annoyed by him, and he just said, "Can I?"
He was stalking her. Yes.
Yeah. And he said, "Can I take you out?" And I think she said yes to make him go away.
Mhm.
It's if you didn't know my dad, this is a horrible story. And then on their first date, he said, "My mission is to marry you." On their first date.
Wow.
And she was already dating another guy, this guy named Joe, who ended up dying from, he was an alcoholic and a gambler. His life took a terrible turn. And she was gonna break up with my dad, but while she was like trying to write a letter to him, she was listening to a record that he had sent her, and there was flowers in her bedroom that he had sent her. And so she decided to break up with Joe instead.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he died from alcoholism. So she's got a lot to answer for.
She could have stayed with Joe and he would have lived a full and happy life. We don't know.
Yeah, my mom makes people happy. That's the one thing I can say about her. She was pretty. She was very pretty in her day. She has these giant green eyes, and she had jet black hair, and that's always a striking look. Kind of a bit of an Elizabeth Taylor look, but the eyes were green and purple.
Right. Yeah, I got a text from my brother today telling me that he sent it to all of us going, everyone has to call Dad. Dad's very bored. Just talk to him for 5 minutes. That's all he needs. Just someone to check in with him, tell him a story, some fucking thing. And it wasn't that abrupt. That wasn't the text, but that was the subtext I read. And I was like, I was thinking about sending him the Albert Brooks movie Mother, but I may have already done that. So, because it's one of my favorite movies.
Is your dad, so is he starting to stay in the house more?
Yeah, he's in quarantine now, so
that's good.
Which is good.
My mom's life hasn't changed one bit.
No, Andy today said that he's psyched, that he's like, I might be liking this a little too much. And I said, do not go full Clyde Ashcraft on me, because his dad spent the last 25 years of his life, moved to rural Arkansas where he could raise bird dogs that he would train from horseback and take them on field trial, essentially invented some weird job, and then lived next to a national forest and was stoned. And the first time I met Clyde, the first words, I think I've said it before, is Clyde said, "You want a breakfast beer, Jackie?" And I was like, not today, Clyde. Not today. Hopefully not tomorrow, but not today for sure. How about that?
Except for the getting stoned, my dad would have loved to ended up like Clyde. He said his dream was to be on a porch and go back to Kansas, be on a porch and shoot cans from his porch.
Well, it's funny because Clyde had a bunch of guns, and when he passed away, it's almost 8 years now, I think. Clyde's widow, his was not Andy's mom, obviously, but Cindy was like, "Do you want any of these guns, Andy?" And Andy was like, No, I don't. What am I going to do with them? She's like, "Well, this shotgun is actually a really kind of really nice, expensive shotgun." And Andy's like, "Yeah, but I don't," because his dad he trained these bird dogs, so he had to train them with guns so they weren't gun shy.
Oh.
And and he would rarely, not often, go. He liked pheasant hunting, and he liked, he would go bird hunting and stuff, but not a lot. He mostly just liked dogs.
Same with my dad.
He liked dogs, and he liked horses, and he liked sitting around and playing chess and having unlikely friends. He had like these weird, like he lived on this. Cindy still lives there on this weird gravel road where every day around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody come down, get stoned, have a couple of beers, and talk about UFOs and whatever. We weirdly enough, the first time I was there, I met this guy. He looked like a caricature of a dude from Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
He was probably anywhere between 40 to 70. He had like
That's quite a range.
giant beard, fuzzy beard, army jacket, missing several teeth. And the first thing that guy said to me was, "You read that new Umberto Eco book?"
Ah.
No, I have not. I don't know if you've read any Umberto Eco, but it's very hard. It's super dense. They're historical fictions. The only one I read was The Name of the Rose. They made it into a movie with Sean Connery, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only one I read. And it was really, really well written and beautiful. But he was one of Clyde's favorite authors. And
You're describing the market for my stand-up, Jackie.
oh,
Well-read, toothless people.
I'm still reading that fucking book I can't stand. I swear I do 2 pages a night and then I'm out. It's so it's not boring. It just irritates me, but for some reason it helps me fall asleep. But I can't finish it. And I have these other books I bought that I'm dying to get to.
I say light it on fire.
No, I need to know how it ends.
Well,
even
then
though I
just
hate all these people and I don't care about them.
Yeah, go to the end then. Just skip to the end. I did a thing today where I did. It was supposedly fun, and it was kind of fun. It was a table read of a sitcom.
Uh-huh.
And so it was just a bunch of friends got together to have we're going to read a script from a sitcom. And I'm like, okay, I'll tell you about it next week, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, ha. Yes.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned, audience supported.